Welcome to Sci-Fi Bedtime Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Welcome to Sci-Fi Bedtime Stories. Prepare for extraordinary journeys as captivating tales unfold. Enjoy the adventure. The coffee maker sputtered dangerously close to Rick's face, yet he remained unmoved. After 5 years of toiling with broken appliances on Atlas Prime, he'd developed a strange resilience to electrical jolts, or perhaps just a profound indifference. "Toaster diagnostic scan," he muttered, prodding the machine's corroded insides with a magnetic probe. His helper drone, wobbling precariously on its uneven anti-grav stabilizers, its dented casing glinting under the harsh station lights, lurched forward. A scan flashed across its display, followed by a stark pronouncement. "Caffeine delivery system, critical failure. Suggest immediate replacement." Rick sighed. "Yeah, well, tell that to Mrs. Rodriguez in Deck S. She believes this antique has been in her family for generations." Switching tools, he reached for a sonic screwdriver. "I could probably buy a new one for what she's paying me to fix this," he mused, but a sudden commotion outside his workshop silenced his thoughts. Through the grimy viewport, he glimpsed a struggle. 2 hulking figures in black armor forcibly dragging someone between them. A flash of violet skin and silver hair caught his eye. "Not our problem," RX muttered, turning back to the coffee maker, but the toaster had already trundled to the door, its sensors whirring with an almost alarming curiosity. "Get back here, you defective toasting unit," Rick hissed, but it was too late. The drone's unsteady progress had carried it directly into the corridor, right into the path of the armed escorts. What followed unfolded in a series of almost comical mishaps. The toaster, true to its nature, collided with one guard's legs. The guard stumbled, yanking a decorative control collar around his prisoner's neck. Rick, lunging to retrieve his wayward drone, accidentally activated the magnetic probe still clutched in his hand. The collar's locking mechanism responded to the magnetic pulse, clicking open and clattering onto the deck with a surprisingly melodic chime. Time seemed to stretch and warp. Rick found himself gazing into the most striking emerald eyes he had ever encountered, set in a face that stole his breath. The woman's violet skin appeared to shimmer, and her silver hair drifted around her head like a celestial halo, seemingly defying the station's artificial gravity. Her full lips curved into a smile that was a captivating blend of predatory and pleased. "You have removed my collar," she stated, her voice carrying the melodious cadence of the Lamaran accent. "According to the ancient laws of my people, we are now bound in marriage." What?" Rick stammered, his mind reeling from her pronouncement. "No, wait. I was merely trying to retrieve my errant drone." "Silence," one of the guards roared, reaching for his weapon. "Do you have any conception of what you have done? This is Lady Fleur La Meridian, and she was en route to her ceremonial collar removal by Duke." He never finished the sentence. Fleur moved with the fluidity of liquid mercury, her ceremonial robe billowing as she dropped into a defensive posture. Her first strike sent the guard's weapon spinning down the corridor. Her second sent him to the deck, groaning. The other guard managed to draw his blaster, but Fleur was already in motion. A swift spin and a kick, and she somehow found herself in possession of both the weapon and the guard's arm locked behind his back. "Now then," she said pleasantly, as if she hadn't just incapacitated 2 armed men in formal attire. "Husband, I suggest we relocate somewhere more private to discuss our future." Rick glanced at the fallen guards, then at his malfunctioning drone, and finally back at the stunning alien warrior who had just declared him her spouse. "I suppose there isn't a return policy for accidental marriages, is there?" he asked weakly. Fleur's laughter echoed down the corridor. "Oh, my dear human. You have absolutely no idea what you've stumbled into." "This isn't happening," Rick muttered, backing away as Fleur advanced with that same alluringly predatory grace. "I fix appliances. I avoid complications. This is undeniably a complication. The toaster beeped cheerfully, seemingly delighted by the unfolding chaos. The drone wobbled between them, its display flashing. Congratulations on your nuptials. Searching database for appropriate wedding music. Don't you dare, Rick warned. But the drone had already commenced playing a slightly off-key rendition of the traditional wedding march. Fleur tilted her head, her silver hair cascading over one shoulder. Your mechanical companion possesses the right spirit. On Limera, our wedding songs are more martial in nature. A groan from one of the guards interrupted what was rapidly becoming the most surreal moment of Rick's existence. We need to move, Fleur declared, her playful demeanor sharpening. More will come, and while I enjoy a good fight, I'd prefer to acquaint myself with my new husband without an audience. Look, about that, Rick began, but Fleur had already seized his arm. Her touch sent a jolt through him, entirely unrelated to faulty wiring. She drew him into his workshop, the toaster trailing behind like a somewhat inebriated ring-bearer. Fascinating, she murmured, surveying the cramped space with its precariously stacked piles of broken electronics. You're some kind of techno-mage. I fix coffee makers, Rick corrected, watching as she secured the door. And toasters, hence the drone's designation. Speaking of which appliance ceased its song? The drone drooped, shifting to a mournful tune. Fleur chuckled, a sound deep and authentic. You are nothing like the suitors my father chose. They were all so stuffy, dull politicians and negotiators, each hoping to seize control of Lam's oil resources through matrimony. I desire no dominion, Rex reassured her, except perhaps over my blood pressure, which is currently rebelling. She drew nearer, and Rex became keenly aware of how the station's recycled air carried a trace of something exotic, like distant storms and unknown blossoms. The unveiling rite is sacred to my kin, she explained. Only one deserving of becoming a Lameran consort can activate it. We have achieved centuries of technological progress, yet no one has managed to decipher its ancient mechanisms until you, by sheer chance. The cosmos does not acknowledge happenstance. Her emerald eyes gleamed. Nor do I. Before Rex could offer further objection, the workshop's security console flashed with approaching alerts. Fleur moved to investigate, her movements graceful and precise. As I suspected, security forces are converging on this zone, and... She furrowed her brow. Something far graver. The Duke's personal enforcers. The Duke? Which Duke? And why assassins? Rex raked a hand through his disheveled hair. I assumed this was merely a matrimonial arrangement. Politics, my dear spouse. She smiled mischievously. The Duke of the Crimson Nebula was intended to remove my circlet in a grand ceremony, a marital pact to fortify both our realms. You have rather spectacularly disrupted those arrangements. Splendid. Magnificent. I have inadvertently wedded an extraterrestrial noble and offended a duke. This is precisely why I avoid venturing from my workshop. The toaster chirped insistently, its sensors detecting movement in the adjoining passage. Fleur produced a small artifact from her attire that unfurled into something uncannily resembling a plasma blade. We possess two avenues, she stated. We can remain and engage in combat, which would be traditional and quite chivalrous by Lameran customs, or... She eyed the workshop's cluttered workbench. Perhaps my technomod husband conceives of a less conventional recourse. Rex surveyed his implements, then the exquisite warrior princess who had quite literally dropped into his existence, then his apprehensive drone. His intellect, typically resistant to exertion, began to churn with possibilities. Toaster, he enunciated slowly. Recall that modification we were developing, the one that most certainly contravened station protocols. The drone perked up, its display blooming with a sequence of animated pictograms. I find it hard to believe I am undertaking this, Rex murmured, scooping up a cluster of components from his workbench. But if we are to evade assassins, and I never envisioned uttering that particular sentence, we might as well depart with a flourish. Fleur observed with keen interest as he swiftly constructed something akin to a hybrid of a remote control and a compact explosive. What precisely is that? Let us simply say, the station's artificial gravity is soon to experience a highly localized anomaly. He grinned involuntarily. I trust you do not suffer from mal de mer, Princess. I navigate combat vessels through stellar maelstroms, she countered, drawing nearer until he could perceive her warmth. Although I must confess, observing you interact with technology is rather captivating. Rex's digits fumbled with the final connection. Having a stunning alien warrior princess offering effusive pré cours directly into his ear was not conducive to his focus. Indeed, perhaps you should secure yourself to something. Preferably not me, for I must concentrate, and you are exceedingly distracting. Her laughter was abruptly cut short by forceful impacts upon the workshop portal. Lady Lam Meriden, by decree of the Duke, surrender yourself and the human forthwith. Prepared? Rex inquired, his finger poised above his hastily assembled device. Fleur's response was to encircle his waist with one arm, her other still brandishing her plasma sword. My consort, she declared with palpable amusement. I surmise this marks the dawn of a magnificent pandemonium. Rex actuated the button. The workshop's gravitational field inverted dramatically, propelling everything unsecured, including them, towards the ceiling, just as the portal splintered inwards. He activated the subsequent stage of his stratagem. The artificial gravity reasserted itself with fierce intensity, but confined to a narrow corridor leading to the service conduit. This maneuver generated a sort of gravitational conduit, propelling them through it while leaving their pursuers in a state of zero-gravity disorientation. This is utterly preposterous, Rex bellowed as they were propelled onward, the toaster whirling behind them like a frenzied navigational aid. Welcome to marital existence, Fleur retorted, her silvery tresses flowing around them both as they cascaded sideways through the station's utility passageways. And somehow, defying every logical impulse within his being, Rex found himself exulting alongside her as they enacted their escape. Perhaps, just perhaps, certain entanglements were worth the considerable effort. The news disseminated across Atlas Prime's data networks with unprecedented velocity. Holographic headlines flashed across every surface. Human technician abducts royal wedding, and Lamaran princess absconds with coffee machine technician. Rex observed the ensuing pandemonium from there. Nestled deep within an abandoned maintenance bay, Toaster hummed, projecting vital feeds while simultaneously struggling to perfect actual toast with its auxiliary heating unit. Your face, it's truly ubiquitous, Fleur commented, her expression laced with an almost mischievous amusement. She lounged effortlessly against a defunct power converter, her flowing ceremonial robes replaced by a sleek, practical combat suit that somehow amplified her ethereal beauty. The Duke, naturally, offers a substantial reward for your capture, whether alive or expired. Naturally, Rix muttered, his fingers deftly tinkering with a salvaged communication array. Exactly what my week required. Hey, plasma coupler, please. Before Fleur could stir, a sharp new message sliced through their frequencies. A holographic projection materialized. A stern Earth Fleet admiral, her silver-streaked hair severely pulled back. Richard Alexander Thorne. Her voice snapped like a whip. What in the seven systems have you instigated now? Rix's tools clattered, forgotten. Mom? He gasped, disbelief warring with recognition. Fleur straightened, emerald eyes alight with sudden revelation. Your mother is the Admiral Sarah Steelstorm Thorne? The legendary tactician who outmaneuvered the entire Centurion armada? The very same, the Admiral affirmed. And now, it seems, an alien daughter-in-law I was not apprised of. Richard, dearest, are you eating properly? That space station fare is terribly processed. And assassins? You know how your blood pressure soars when people attempt to assassinate you. Mom, I'm perfectly fine, Rix groaned, exasperated. How did you possibly pinpoint this frequency? Oh, darling, I simply tracked your drone's unique signal. Toaster's anti-grav stabilizers are still misaligned. Have you maintained him? You know how sensitive he is. Toaster beeped indignantly, charring its bread in protest. Fleer smoothly interjected, Admiral, I apologize for these unconventional circumstances, but call me Sarah, dear, or Mom, she interrupted, a wry smile playing. And don't concern yourself with convention. I've witnessed Richard's sock drawer. Nothing could possibly shock me more than that. Mom, Rix protested, his face flushing crimson. Could we focus on the fact I'm currently hunted by a Duke's assassins? Yes, about that. Sarah's expression sharpened considerably. The situation runs deeper than you realize. The Duke's alliance with Lamera wasn't merely marriage. Necrotech Corporation has fiercely pursued mining rights to the All-Right deposits. The Duke promised to block them for Fleer's hand. That promise is now void. Because I'm already married to Rix, who honestly just wants to fix coffee makers, Fleer offered. Nonsense, Sarah scoffed, waving dismissively. My son is the Earth Fleet's most brilliant strategic mind. He simply chooses to squander his talents on household appliances because he's fundamentally lazy. I prefer selectively motivated, Rix corrected mildly. Wait, Fleer murmured, turning to him, her eyes narrowing. You're the Rick Thorne? The genius who developed the quantum probability targeting system that revolutionized fleet combat? Just bored one weekend, Rix shrugged nonchalantly. They wouldn't stop pestering me. He did it to stop the Admiralty's meeting invites, Sarah explained proudly. Engineered a revolutionary weapon simply to evade social interaction. That's my boy. Before Fleer could respond, piercing proximity alarms blared through the hideout. Toaster's sensors went wild, detecting multiple armed signatures converging rapidly. They found us, Rix exclaimed, already snatching his tools. Mom, I must. No more, darling. A stealth courier is inbound. Sarah's hologram smiled warmly. Do care for my son. Ensure he eats non-replicator food. The transmission cut as the first explosion rocked their hideout. Fleer moved with liquid grace, plasma sword igniting. Your mother is delightful, she noted, deflecting a blast that tore through the wall. I now understand your unique problem-solving approach. Less talking, more running, Rix suggested, mesmerized by the plasma sword's glow on her violet skin. Running? Fleer's laugh was fierce, joyous. Oh no, husband. Now we fight. Together. Together might be a stretch, Rix muttered, ducking behind a conduit as energy bolts sizzled past. I'm a support from a safe distance guy. Nonsense, Fleer called back, her plasma sword creating beautiful arcs, deflecting incoming fire. I've seen your file. Top of your Earth Fleet Academy class, perfect tactical simulation scores. Yeah, I hacked the sim to nap during battles. A near miss singed his hair. Toaster, Defensive Protocol Alpha. The drone whirred to life, its damaged casing splitting open to reveal a robust shield generator. A translucent barrier sprang up just as a barrage of heavy weapons fire turned their cover into molten slag. Impressive, Fleer murmured, catching her breath, silver hair slightly disheveled from the fight. Right, making her look even more breathtaking. You truly modified a kitchen drone into a tactical defense unit, Fleur marveled. I got tired of dodging debt collectors, Rick retorted, his fingers already flying over a jury-rigged control panel, his mind on the next ingenious, chaotic solution. Also, you might want to brace yourself. Why? Before she could finish, the maintenance bay's environmental system whined, then violently went haywire. Emergency sprinklers activated, but instead of water, they unleashed a thick, viscous purple foam that rapidly hardened, encasing the attacking mercenaries in grotesque, shimmering cocoons. "Industrial-grade quick-seal foam," Rick proudly explained, a pleased smirk playing on his lips. "Usually used for hull breaches, also surprisingly effective for impromptu modern art installations featuring enraged assassins." Fleur surveyed the grotesque scene, her would-be killers struggling futilely in their rigid, violet prisons. "You know," she mused, a thoughtful light in her eyes, "I'm beginning to genuinely understand why the Collar chose you." "The Collar didn't choose anything," Rick instantly countered, a flush rising on his cheeks. "It was just a random magnetic pulse that simply happened to have the exact frequency needed to unlock an ancient Laran artifact." She raised an elegant eyebrow, an unspoken challenge in her gaze. "The same frequency that stumped our galaxy's brightest scientists for centuries." Before Rick could formulate another argument, a new, imposing holographic message abruptly materialized in the room's center. This time, it projected a towering figure draped in opulent, flowing robes, his violet skin several shades deeper than Fleur's, a majestic crown of shimmering crystalline amethyst adorning his head. "Father?" Fleur murmured, dropping instinctively into a deep, formal bow. Rick clumsily mimicked her, nearly tripping over Toaster in the process, a comedic beat in the sudden solemnity. "Daughter," the Emperor's voice resonated with profound authority, filling the chamber. "I see the reports are accurate. You have indeed found yourself a rather unique mate." "Your Majesty," Rick began, desperation in his tone, "I can explain." "Silence, human," the Emperor commanded, his luminous green eyes, so strikingly similar to his daughter's, piercing Rick with an unwavering gaze. "Do you comprehend the magnitude of your actions? The Duke of the Crimson Nebula threatens total war. Necrotech fleets mass menacingly at our very borders, and my daughter, my esteemed heir, is now bonded to a man who merely repairs beverage dispensers." "Really good beverage dispensers," Rick muttered defiantly, earning a sharp, warning elbow from Fleur. "However," the Emperor continued, a subtle softening in his stern expression, "our most trusted seers report that the Collar's choice was genuine, truly fated, and my daughter appears happier than I've witnessed her in years." He let out a profound, world-weary sigh. "So, Richard Thorne, once an Earthfleet prodigy, now an appliance technician, I extend a proposition to you." "I'm listening," Rick said cautiously, sensing the immense weight of the moment. "Defend Lamera. Prove yourself undeniably worthy of my daughter's hand. Prevent Necrotech from stealing our world's very heart. Accomplish this, and I will officially acknowledge your union." "And if I refuse?" Rick challenged, his voice steady despite the tremor in his gut. The Emperor's smile was thin, edged with chilling menace. "Then I suppose we'll discover if your little drone can generate a shield robust enough to withstand a planetary bombardment." The holographic transmission dissolved, plunging them into a heavy silence, punctuated only by the muffled, furious curses of their foam-encased attackers. "Well," Rick finally broke the quiet, a nervous chuckle escaping him, "that could have gone significantly worse. He could have actually tried to kill me instead of just making a very dramatic threat." Fleur moved closer, her fingers intertwining with his. The familiar electric current surged through him, but this time, Rick held firm, refusing to pull away. "You don't have to do this," she whispered, her gaze searching his. "We could just run. I know places even Necrotech couldn't ever find us." "Running sounds absolutely fantastic, actually. I'm a huge fan of running. Running is my favorite tactical maneuver," Rick admitted, looking down at their joined hands, then at Toaster, who was busily attempting to toast a celebratory piece of bread in honor of their narrow survival. But, I've spent my entire life avoiding things, responsibilities, daunting challenges, meaningful relationships. He squeezed her hand, his voice gaining conviction. Maybe it's finally time I actually fought for something, or for someone. Fleur's smile was radiant, illuminating the dim bay. Does this mean you're accepting our marriage? Let's call it a trial period, Rick countered, a playful glint in his eyes, with the firm understanding that if we somehow survive this, we absolutely need to have a serious discussion about your father's alarming tendency toward dramatic ultimatums. Their shared fragile moment was abruptly shattered by a new, urgent alarm from Toaster. The loyal drone's sensors had detected more incoming hostiles, a vast, overwhelming number of them. Speaking of survival, Rick said, already reaching for his well-worn tools, any chance those Lauren combat skills of yours include pilot training? Because my mom's stealth courier should be arriving right about now. A sleek, impossibly dark ship shimmered into view outside their viewport, its stealth systems powering down just enough to become visible. Race you to the airlock, Fleur suggested, a dangerous glint in her eye as she ignited her plasma sword with a low hum. Oh, no, Rick grinned, scooping up Toaster with a flourish. This time, we're doing it my way. Toaster, initiate Operation Breakfast Special. The drone chirped happily, and with a sudden surge of chaotic energy, every automated system in the maintenance bay went berserk. Heavy cargo loaders sprang to life. Hulking maintenance bots emerged from their charging stations with menacing whirs, and even the broken coffee maker Rick had been tinkering with earlier began spewing scalding jets of liquid at their astonished pursuers. Your way? Fleur laughed, a sound of pure delight and disbelief as they sprinted through the glorious pandemonium. Is absolutely insane, says the warrior princess who married a stranger because he broke her jewelry, Rick quipped back, dodging a flying wrench. Technically, you're now a warrior prince, Fleur corrected, a smirk playing on her lips. Great! Add that to my business cards right under Toaster Repair Specialist, Rick declared triumphantly. The stealth courier's autopilot smoothly carried them through the chaos, whisking them away. Once the turbulent chaos of the Atlas Prime shipping lanes finally faded behind them, replaced by the silent vastness of hyperspace, Rick found himself utterly alone with Fleur in the ship's surprisingly spacious living quarters. Toaster, ever the diligent companion, had seamlessly plugged itself into the vessel's systems, humming contentedly as it managed their flight path and likely, Rick suspected, meticulously reordered every byte of the ship's expansive database. Your mother's taste in ships is truly remarkable, Fleur mused, her fingers gracefully tracing the sleek lines of a control panel, a faint shimmer of violet playing across her skin. Military-grade stealth systems, a quantum-shielded hull. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she pressed a subtle button, and instantly, the cabin was enveloped in soft, melodic music, revealing an astonishingly sophisticated entertainment system. Mom always insisted a proper tactical retreat should be as comfortable as possible. Rick found himself fighting a losing battle against the ambient lighting, which seemed designed to make Fleur's violet skin glow with the ethereal luminescence of twilight. He suspected, though, his mother had a very specific, and probably mischievous, ulterior motive in dispatching this particular vessel. Oh, that's because it's her personal romantic getaway ship, he admitted, a wry smile playing on his lips. The one she typically uses for those very important diplomatic missions with the Jovian ambassador. Fleur laughed, a rich, melodic sound that resonated deep within Rick's chest, coaxing an unfamiliar warmth to unfurl. Your mother, she breathed, her gaze sparkling, is a truly fascinating woman. That's certainly one word for it, he agreed, watching her fluid movements as she explored the cabin, her natural grace transforming even the simple act of looking around into something mesmerizing. Can I ask you something? You are my husband, she replied, turning to meet his gaze, her green eyes holding his with an unwavering intensity that stole his breath. "You can ask me anything at all." "Right about that," Rick muttered, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. "Why aren't you more upset about this? You were meant to marry a duke, secure a crucial alliance for your people. Instead, you're stuck with, well, me." Flair's exploration ceased, her full attention now fixed on him. "Have you ever encountered the Duke of the Crimson Nebula?" she inquired, a hint of something mischievous in her tone. "Can't say that I have," Rick admitted. "Imagine," she began, a delicate wrinkle appearing on her nose. "A pulsating, sentient mass of tentacles, riddled with delusions of grandeur and reeking of aggressively sweet cologne. Now," she continued, her expression a mix of distaste and dry humor, "imagine being told you must dedicate your life to that because it's politically expedient." When you put it that way, Rick found himself chuckling, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Still, you don't actually know anything about me." "On the contrary," Flair countered, stepping closer, "I know you're remarkably brilliant, yet constantly try to mask it. I know you care far more deeply than you ever let on. I've seen the quiet affection in how you treat that wonderfully ridiculous drone of yours. I know you possess the rare ability to twist any dire situation to your advantage, though you often choose not to. And," she paused, now impossibly close, the intoxicating scent of distant storm clouds and alien blossoms swirling around them. "I know that when you accidentally married me, your very first primal instinct was to shield me from those guards, even though you clearly despise confrontation." "That was mostly panic and terribly poor decision-making, wasn't it?" Rick mumbled, his voice a little hoarse as she drew even closer. "Or was it instinct?" she challenged softly, her eyes gleaming. "The same instinct that allowed you to unlock my collar, a feat generations of suitors failed to achieve." Rick swallowed hard, the air suddenly thick between them. "I told you that was just a random magnetic—" Her lips, impossibly soft, yet insistently firm, met his, silencing his clumsy protests. It was unlike anything he could have possibly imagined. Not that he'd ever spent time fantasizing about kissing alien princesses. Her taste was faintly of starlight and boundless possibility. His hands, acting on a will entirely their own, found her waist, pulling her flush against him as the kiss deepened, a universe of unspoken emotions unfolding between them. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Flair's shimmering silver hair had somehow intertwined around them both, a delicate, celestial embrace. "That," she whispered, her voice a soft caress, "was not random at all." "No," Rick agreed, his usual sharp wit having utterly deserted him. "Definitely not random." They came together again, and this time there was nothing accidental about it. The ship's compact cabin seemed to dissolve, leaving only the searing heat that blossomed between them, the whisper of clothing being shed, and the gentle rhythmic thrum of the engines mirroring the frantic beat of their entwined hearts. Later, much, much later, they lay tangled in the ship's surprisingly plush bed, Flair's head nestled against Rick's chest as he absently ran his fingers through her star-bright hair. "I should warn you," she murmured, her fingertips tracing intricate, constellation-like patterns on his skin. "Lamaran marriages are known for being rather intense." "You don't say," Rick drawled, a smile audible in his voice despite the dry tone. "I never would have guessed from the plasma swords and assassination attempts." She propped herself up on an elbow, her impossible eyes fixed on his. "I'm serious, Rick. Once we bond fully, it's forever. No matter what happens with Nekrit, or my father, or the Duke's deeply wounded pride." "Forever is a profoundly long time," he mused softly, reaching up to gently trace the delicate curve of her cheek. "Especially for someone who's spent his entire life skillfully avoiding commitment to anything more serious than a warranty agreement. "Are you having second thoughts, then?" she asked, a flicker of concern in her gaze. "Actually," Rick surprised himself with the raw honesty in his next words, "I'm wondering why I wasted so much time running from things instead of running toward them, running toward someone like you." Her smile, when it came, was brighter than any star they had passed. "My clever, delightfully lazy husband," she teased, finally admitting there are some things truly worth the effort. "Don't you dare let it go to your head," he warned playfully, pulling her down for another kiss. "I still plan to be as efficiently lazy as humanly possible. It's just now I have a much better reason for it." "Oh, and what reason might that be?" she whispered against his lips. "More time for this," he murmured, and proceeded to show her exactly what he meant. Deep within the ship's core, Toaster, ever the romantic, subtly dimmed the ambient lighting and curated a playlist of what it considered exquisitely appropriate, romantic music. The air filled with a strange harmony, a blend of fierce Lamarran war chants and timeless earthly symphonies. Neither Rix nor Fleer registered the sound, completely absorbed in their newfound world of shared discovery. For the very first time, Rix grasped the fierce passion behind sacrifices, the profound courage that drove people to risk everything for another. He'd spent so long sidestepping such entanglements, shying away from any hint of emotional exposure. But as Fleer nestled close, her gentle breaths a whisper against his neck, her presence filling the vast, unknown voids within him, a profound truth dawned. Some complexities were worth every single challenge, every battle, every moment of beautiful disarray they heralded. He would confront whatever lay ahead, Necrotech's furious lords, pompous emperors, or even the inevitable chaos of his mother's wedding preparations, because the woman cradled in his arms transformed it all into something profoundly meaningful, even with her persistent habit of carrying a plasma sword. "Mission concluded, Admiral Toaster," he transmitted, a hushed message on Sarah Thorne's secure channel. "Our objectives are now romantically entwined and in slumber." "Splendid execution, my dear," the Admiral's luminous holographic form conveyed with a warm smile. "I had confidence that the ship's environmental adjustments would prove effective. Nothing quite accelerates budding affection like perfectly calibrated atmospheric enhancers and mood-setting illumination." "Your foresight was, as always, impeccable, Admiral, though I must voice my dissent regarding the appellation, my dear. I am, in fact, a highly advanced, indeed, a remarkably sophisticated toasting apparatus, much like how my dear Richard is merely a humble repair technician," she chuckled, a playful wink accompanying her words. "Continue your vigilance over them, precious one, and do alert me the moment they stir. I suspect the dawn of tomorrow holds a distinct promise of intrigue." The ethereal glow of dawn, a manufactured marvel within hyperspace, was nonetheless acknowledged by the ship's precise chronometers, faithfully adhering to an Earth-standard diurnal rhythm. Rix awoke to find Fleer already awake, her gaze fixed on the mesmerizing, swirling currents visible through the viewport. "There's a small world," she murmured, her back still to him, "nestled in the Copia sector. Imagine beaches of pure crystal, 3 moons painting the sky, an eternal summer, and absolutely no extradition agreements." She turned, a hopeful luminescence gracing her violet lips. "We could simply vanish there, just the 2 of us. Perhaps we could even open a little repair shop right on the shore." "That sounds utterly idyllic," Rick replied, moving to stand behind her. "We could sip ice-cold citron quick lemonade and soak up the sun." "You're teasing me." "Only a touch," he confessed, his arms encircling her waist, drawing in that singular, intoxicating fragrance that belonged only to her. "A mere week ago, that vision would have been my ultimate aspiration. Escape, Evade all obligation. Embrace a life of unburdened simplicity. And now? Rick gently turned her to face him. Now my dearest desire is to champion you, to fight for us, for the future we forge together, even if that necessitates confronting your father's theatrical pronouncements, navigating the treacherous currents of corporate warfare, and enduring likely more assassination attempts. Fleer's verdant eyes widened in surprise. And who, pray tell, are you, and what have you done with my indolent husband? Oh, I assure you, the laziness persists, he responded with a broad grin. I simply believe the sooner we resolve these matters, the sooner we can truly cherish our marriage, free from the specter of those who wish us harm. Do you possess a strategy? Indeed, several in fact, most of them bordering on the delightfully unhinged. He offered her a fleeting kiss. But first, a crucial communication is in order. To whom do we owe this vital call? Rick's smile took on a decidedly more formidable, almost predatory edge. To the esteemed members of Necrotech's board of directors. I believe it is time they were reminded precisely why the Earth Fleet once referred to me as their most dreaded adversary. Esteemed ladies, gentlemen, and diverse tentacled beings comprising the Necrotech board. Rick's spectral hologram materialized within their opulent executive chamber, its appearance perfectly timed to disrupt their emergency deliberation on the Lauren crisis. How precisely did you circumvent our formidable security protocols? Demanded the CEO, a portly figure whose temples gleamed with intricate cybernetic enhancements. Ah, that, Rick interjected with a languid, exaggerated yawn. I merely slipped into your systems while preparing my morning repast. Speaking of which, he raised a piece of toast aloft. Toaster, my companion, unveil our recent endeavors. Instantly, every display within the boardroom erupted into a cascade of revealing data. Intricate financial records, clandestine contracts, evidence of illicit mining operations, all their clandestine wrongdoings laid bare for all to see. You comprehend, Rick continued, taking a bite of his toast. While the galaxy believes I've been diligently repairing household appliances, I have, in fact, been meticulously constructing the most advanced AI network in existence. Every single device I've serviced now forms an integral part of my expansive system. Might I inquire how many of your esteemed executives have availed themselves of my repair services? The CEO's complexion drained to an ashen hue. You are undoubtedly fabricating this. Am I truly? Rick's voice resonated with a potent undercurrent of amusement. Pray tell, Mr. Peterson, my intelligent refrigeration unit, perhaps you could regale them with those rather revealing images from last week's crucial business summit on Orion Prime. A board member audibly sputtered, coffee escaping his lips. Alternatively, we might delve into the actual figures underpinning your so-called optimal processing efficiencies. The very data that unequivocally demonstrates your current technology would, in fact, lead to the catastrophic depletion of 60% of LAM's vital deposits. This is an utter impossibility, another executive stammered, his voice laced with incredulity. Our systems are protected by the most sophisticated quantum encryption. Indeed they were, Rick conceded with a nonchalant shrug, until I found myself overcome with ennui one quiet afternoon and resolved to fundamentally rewrite the principles of quantum mathematics. It seemed a far more engaging pursuit than organizing my sock drawer. Fleer, observing the unfolding drama from the confines of their ship, couldn't suppress a delighted smile. You are deriving an excessive amount of pleasure from this, you know. Hush now. I am in the midst of a crucial monologue, Rick whispered back, before resuming his address to the stunned board. Here is the course of action we shall now pursue. Firstly, you will capitulate. Lamaran territory is yours. Second, a public apology for bullying a free nation is required. Finally, channel R&D funds into gentle mining, or what's the CEO's stance? Otherwise, every device blabs corporate secrets. Did you know your coffee maker spies on meetings? People reveal so much near hot drinks. Chaos seized the boardroom. Rick's, still enjoying toast, waited. This is impossible, the CEO finally choked. One person can't control every device. Instantly, devices rebelled. Coffee makers spewed, climate spun wild, and the executive's implant blasted, "Never gonna give you up." Another demo? Rix asked sweetly. Perhaps smart toilets flushing in unison? Wait, the CEO cried. What do you want? Money? Board seat? I want right actions, Rix stated. Or, his tone chilled. Next time won't be as easy. You have an hour. The transmission ended, leaving stunned silence. Fleur stared. You built a secret appliance network? Nope, Rix grinned. I hacked while cooking. The rest, theater. You're insane, exclaimed the warrior princess, who married a stranger over jewelry. That was a sacred artifact. Now our How We Met story. Rick turned stern. They'll yield. They must. I bluffed about appliances, but not about system access. Their illegal acts are now flowing to galactic authorities. A breakfast appliance did that. Toaster is talented. The drone beeped proudly. I also installed back doors while fixing appliances, just in case. In case of what? In case I found something worth fighting for. Necrotech's response arrived 15 minutes early. Their Laran withdrawal announcement flooded news networks. The CEO looked ill reading his statement about respecting rights and mining sustainably. I can't believe it worked, Fleur marveled. It gets better, Rick said, typing rapidly. Check your father's channel. The Emperor appeared, cycling through shock, amusement, and respect. You did it, he declared, without a shot. Well, Fleur shot a few, and there was foam, but mostly blackmail and mind games. You threatened a megacorp with a toaster? A very sophisticated toaster, the drone corrected. The Emperor's laugh, deep and resonating, filled the transmission. Perhaps hope remains. But why hide these skills? Why years as a repair tech? Being underestimated is the greatest weapon, Rick said. My mother taught me that. A new hologram flickered. Admiral Sarah Thorne, beaming. Darling, the news. The quantum encryption. Brilliant. But Richard, Rick-rolling cybernetic implants was excessive. It's a classic, Mom. And Fleur, dear, you're radiant. Ceremony date set? I'm planning. A small affair for galactic powers, perhaps on Crystal Beach? Mom! Oh, and the Duke threatened vengeance and tentacles. I sent him data about his corporation. He's now contemplating a retreat. Mom, what? I'm helping, Sarah smiled. Besides, I waited years for you to use your brain for more than appliances. Let me enjoy this. Proximity alarms blared. Crimson light bathed their ship as a multitude of vessels materialized around them, not as foes, but as a regal Lamaran honor guard, their warship hulls shimmering with ceremonial artistry. Ah, yes, the Emperor remarked casually. I arranged an escort for your return to Lamera, for the wedding, naturally. Of course, Rick replied faintly, because everything in this family has to be dramatic. Says the man who crippled a megacorp with kitchen gadgets, Fleur teased, her eyes dancing. That was different, tactical necessity, he countered. Speaking of tactics, Sarah interjected, I've contacted Earthfleet's ceremonial division. They're ecstatic to collaborate with the Lamaran Guard on a breathtaking aerial display. And wait until you see the fireworks. As their parents immersed themselves in wedding preparations, Rick pulled Fleur aside, whispering, we could still flee to that beach planet, change our names, open that repair shop. She gently kissed him. Besides, you can't fool me, my brilliant, delightfully chaotic husband. You needed the right reason to embrace it. The wedding surpassed all expectations. a masterpiece orchestrated by an Earth Fleet admiral and a Lamaran emperor. Crystal beaches on Copia Prime shimmered under triple moonlight as starships wove complex patterns in the sky above. "I can't believe you transformed my combat drones into floating disco balls," Rick murmured to Toaster, who sported a dapper bow tie attachment. "Aesthetic enhancement deemed necessary for optimal ceremonial ambiance," the drone chirped proudly. The ceremony fused Earth and Lamaran customs seamlessly. Rick donned a modified fleet dress uniform paired with Lamaran ceremonial armor, while Fleer's gown seemed spun from starlight itself, her violet skin and silver hair making her a goddess. "You clean up nicely," she whispered as they met at the altar. "For a repair technician, you're not so bad yourself, especially since you married me because of a malfunction." Her green eyes sparkled. "Oh, still claiming it was an accident?" Before he could retort, Sarah, seated in the front row, interjected with a mischievous smile. "Actually, Toaster dear, would you care to elaborate?" The drone's display flickered with smugness. "Magnetic pulse calibrated to collar frequency, based on extensive historical research. Timing of guard encounter carefully orchestrated. Probability of successful match, 94.3%. Rick stared at his drone. "You set us up?" Admiral Thorne suggested. "Tactical matchmaking intervention. Mission parameters. Find worthy mate for Master Rick. Conclusion. Princess Fleer optimal candidate for producing maximum chaos and happiness." The assembled guests erupted in laughter as Rick gaped at his mother and his matchmaking appliance. "I told you, the universe doesn't believe in accidents," Fleer said, beaming. The rest of the ceremony unfolded in a blur of vows, traditions, and an impromptu opera performance by the Duke's tentacles, who had seemingly been transformed by his meditation retreat. At the reception, amidst dignitaries attempting to dance to Earth classics and Lamaran battle hymns, Sarah cornered the newlyweds. "I have a wedding gift," she announced, presenting a data crystal. "The deed to a lovely property on a Lamaran private island, perfect for a repair shop / combat training facility / whatever chaos you two dream up next." "Mom," Rick began, genuinely touched. "Thank you." "Just promise me one thing," she said, looking at them both. "Don't waste any more time pretending to be less than you are. Either of you." "Oh, don't worry," Fleer said, pulling Rick close. "I plan to keep him very busy." "Speaking of busy," Rick interjected, "Toaster, what exactly are you doing to the wedding cake?" The drone, caught red-handed installing something in the massive confection, beeped innocently. "Tactical enhancement of dessert deployment systems." "It's going to explode, isn't it?" "Explosion is harsh term. Prefer celebratory pastry distribution event." Sure enough, at the pivotal moment, the cake didn't so much get cut as launch itself in a calculated pattern that somehow served every guest while spelling out "just married" in falling cream frosting. "Show off," Rick muttered fondly as the celebration swirled around them. He and Fleer slipped away to a secluded spot on the beach. The triple moons cast long shadows, and the waves whispered against the crystal sand. "Having second thoughts about all this?" Fleer asked, gesturing to the spectacle behind them. "About the wedding?" "No," he said, pulling her close. "About letting my mother and your father plan it? Absolutely. Too late now. You're stuck with all of us." Rick chuckled, gazing into those stunning green eyes that had utterly transformed his once meticulously planned existence into a breathtaking whirlwind. "And honestly," he murmured, "I wouldn't trade it for anything." So my kindred spirits, my fellow dreamers and appliance aficionados, did I just spin a yarn about a toaster orchestrating romance, a humble repairman outsmarting a corporate giant, and a fierce warrior finding love in the most unexpected corner of the cosmos? Absolutely. Because truly great tales aren't always about prophesied saviors or predestined champions. They're about everyday individuals, and even sentient robots, who discover within themselves reservoirs of strength and potential they never knew existed. If you've ever identified with Rick, playing life safe and shying away from complexity, or felt like Flo, confined by expectations not of your own making, perhaps this story resonated with you deeply. Amidst a galaxy overflowing with epic sagas, let's remember that even a simple appliance repair tech can become a galactic hero with the right inspiration and a truly extraordinary toaster. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on this cosmic comedy of errors. Did Rick's carefully crafted inaction strike a chord? Did Admiral Mom's helpful interventions remind you of your own family dynamics? And are you now casting a suspicious eye on your own kitchen appliances, wondering if they're secretly playing matchmaker? Share your thoughts, send out a signal, or simply toast with a glass of something fizzy to love, to chaos, and to the beautifully accidental unions that life throws our way. Above all, remember that the most extraordinary moments often arise when we stop running from the unexpected and wholeheartedly embrace it. May your coffee makers remain eternally functional, and may your toasters always watch over you. P.S. Rest assured, no appliances were harmed in the telling of this story, although several have indeed mastered never gonna give you up.